Israel just fractured the right wing. I was in the room watching it happen. I'm on the left. If you ask me how far left, I would say all the way. I have a growing audience on Substack, my main account. I have a respectable presence that still manages to feel suppressed on TikTok. The point is, I wasn't expecting someone like Tiffany Cianci to call and ask me to join a group of influencers heading down to Kentucky to help get Congressman Thomas Massie reelected. Tiffany's a much bigger wheel than I am in the social media space. When she asked, I wasn't even sure I wanted to do it. My first impulse was to worry about my online reputation as a leftist. But my wife was like, "Are you crazy? Get down there." Cut to Tuesday night, and I'm at the official Massie campaign event at the Marriott Cincinnati Airport, just over the Kentucky state line, watching the congressman concede defeat from 20 feet away. It felt like a hilarious gag, me roaming around wearing a press badge and drinking free Coronas while the bright lights of Fox News and NBC cameras lined the back of the ballroom. Someone introduced me as one of the influencers. Collectively, we managed to generate billions of impressions across multiple platforms. We even became part of the story ourselves. I thought it was so amusing to shake hands and say, "I influence." Let's just say I wasn't taking myself too seriously. But it turns out I was witness to a mass awakening that is fracturing the American right wing in real time. By now you know that Massie lost to Ed Galreen, handpicked as a warm body to help Trump unseat one of his only critics inside the Republican Party. If you watch cable news or just catch headlines, that probably seems like the end of the story. The framing from MAGA is that the president has flexed his muscles and proven yet again that no one is strong enough to stand against his wishes. This narrative has power because MAGA really has claimed a long line of pelts. It reminds me of the ancient Egyptian war chant that inspired the band named "And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead." Standing there as it happened, I realized this is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a new one. The age breakdown on the Massie election does not require long-winded analysis to understand. The younger the voter, the more likely they voted for Massie. The older the voter, the more likely they voted for Galreen. The age difference is completely lopsided. Young people overwhelmingly chose Massie, and older folks chose Galreen. Supposedly older folks always vote in higher numbers than young people, so Massie lost. The split starts right around age 50. What's behind this gaping age gap? How people get their news. Young people typically don't get their news from television, radio, or newspapers. They get it from social media. The older a person is, the more likely they get their news purely from mainstream establishment press. This is reflected in the age breakdown of the Massie race. No matter where you get your news, you have probably heard that the single biggest issue in this electoral contest was Israel. Congressman Massie committed the unforgivable sin of voting against money for Israel. In many cases, he was the only Republican in the House of Representatives willing to do that. He embarrassed America's largest pro-Israel lobby by revealing on Tucker Carlson's show that every member has an AIPAC person. He was also instrumental in getting the Epstein files released to the public. This is why Massie's election just made history as the most expensive House primary race of all time. AIPAC and 3 pro-Israel billionaires spent bigly, at least $35 million. Probably more. Because of influencers like Tiffany Cianci, Bobby Sauce, James Lee, Zachary Loft, Shannon Joy, and to a much lesser extent, me, people who get their news from social media knew this. People who get their news spoon-fed to them by mainstream media, most likely, did not. That is the age divide in how Americans consume media revealed. Pro-Israel money started getting organized against Massie last summer. Before any opponent had even emerged, ads designed to shift opinions in northern Kentucky's 4th District were hitting mass media airwaves. By the end of the campaign, there was an unstoppable tsunami of mud being thrown Massie's way. Sex scandals, AI deepfake ads that made it look like Massie was caught having a three-way with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar. A sparsely attended campaign visit from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. The anti-Massie forces were doing everything possible to send him packing. By the end of the campaign, commenters were telling me that Massie was a Republican in name only, who voted with the Democratic Party 90% of the time. The truth is actually the exact opposite. Massie gets high marks from conservative hub Heritage Action for voting with the GOP 96% of the time in this session of Congress. Yet somehow, even though it was the driving issue behind all this intense campaigning, Israel was never openly portrayed as the reason Massie was targeted. Now, a chunk of the MAGA coalition is threatening to break apart. America First has long been a MAGA rallying cry. Thomas Massie, who likes to clarify that he is Americans first, is poised to become the avatar of conservatives who believe America first means putting American interests ahead of Israel's interests. This is the defining issue of the moment. As a political position, this should be a no-brainer. There aren't many Americans who feel so passionately about Israel that they believe another nation's interests surpass their own. Massie repeatedly had to pause for chants of 2028 during his concession speech. It's clear that independent candidates carrying an Americans First banner could easily win seats all over the place right now in 2026, blowing right past Democrats and Republicans caught with their hands in AIPAC's till. Young people who get their news from a completely decentralized network of voices have witnessed the genocide in Gaza. The spell Israel casts on mainstream American press is powerless against this. People who get their news from social media can plainly see another country manipulating American elections. This fact is not clear to people who passively accept their news from mass media. I remember a famous quote from an unnamed source inside the George W. Bush administration, who told Ron Suskind, "We're an empire now. And when we act, we create our own reality. And while you're studying that reality, judiciously as you will, we'll act again, creating new realities." America's ruling class likes to pretend that actions don't have consequences. Since November 2024, the Democratic Party has been trying to hide the fact that Kamala Harris lost because she wouldn't stand against the genocide in Gaza. Actual reality has a stubborn way of showing back up. A reckoning on American empire and Israeli genocide is coming. And the Epstein class can't stop that. Please give a like, follow, favorite, repost, and find me on Substack. Let's make them pay.